and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast for all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time. I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. We are here because God is concerned about that which concerns you. And so you may call or text every day now on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. You can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families, dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. We know that God is concerned about that which concerns you. So we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you by Fiji Water. You may already know that Fiji Water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock. The water collects in a natural artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. And so I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made a monthly or weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast, we thank you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. So I want to share with all of our listeners and viewers, first of all, as you see, I'm monitoring the screen while we're in the broadcast already. So let me just say to all of our listeners and viewers that we are really continuing to expand our broadcast. We're continuing to Facebook Live, YouTube Live. We are going to begin doing interviews starting again in January. We're going to be having guests on our Zoomcast, which we're about to expand, Zoom streaming. So I want to encourage everyone, continue to tune in. We have had a significant increase of viewership throughout the broadcast, and we want you to encourage your family, your friends, your coworkers, your colleagues, everyone you know, to tune in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. We have a place where they can hear from God. You're only going to really make good decisions hearing from God. We know that you can learn from instruction, revelation, or consequence. We don't want to deal with the consequences. We want to hear from God and know that it's God's will and God's way for our lives and all that we do. So we want you to encourage everyone you know, continue encouraging, I should say, everyone you know to tune in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And with the expansion of our broadcast, there will be some additional times that we may be going live on the air. I know everyone has been asking the same question for a very long time. Why not take the broadcast to 1 hour? Well, we have just been trying to continue building the platforms out, getting our infrastructure sound. And so we're not at that point where we're going to expand to 1 hour. However, when we are interviewing, there may be times when the people that we have determined we're going to interview and have agreed to be interviewed might be available at different times. So in addition to 3D being from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we may have some additional broadcasts that we will be doing, but we'll keep you posted on that also. And all we want you to do is stay tuned in and continue allowing us to be with you in your viewing environment. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you want to know, what do you do when you continue attempting to guide family and loved ones to build a better life, and they refuse to make changes. Well, let me begin by saying this. We've all been there. So let's recognize that it's important to understand that some people are just going to learn by consequence. They're going to learn by going through what perhaps they don't need to go through, but it's necessary for them to go through it because they won't learn any other way. So let me begin by saying that. But let's just talk for a moment about what it's like when you try to guide your family first, and then we'll talk about loved ones outside of your immediate household. So, we all, growing up in our generation, were told things by our parents that we didn't do, and we learned from the consequence. Now, in many cases, our parents didn't have enough information to tell us they may have told us there were pitfalls in the road, but they didn't tell us that there were sinkholes. And the reason is because they didn't understand infrastructure. So let's clarify that. It wasn't that they didn't want to tell us, it's that they didn't have the information to share with us. Our generation, the baby boomers, we had a lot more information available to us, but a lot of it was learn as you go, learn from experience. So we were always told to learn by experience. Then we came into the knowledge that because we got educated, that we could learn from instruction, but there were still some things that they weren't going to teach us in a book. We had to learn those things by revelation as we developed our own relationship with the Lord. So revelation comes to us. So instruction, revelation, or consequences. And now what we want our children to do, the next generation, and the generation following them, is to not learn from consequence, but to learn by instruction and revelation. Because we want them all to have a relationship with the Lord so that God can reveal His way and His will for their lives. Okay. But let's be real. We are just their parents. And so sometimes they view us as public enemy number one and number two. Sometimes they view us as the village idiot. I'll just say that out loud as an analogy. And sometimes they look at our lives and they say, no matter how blessed you are, no matter how much you've been blessed to accomplish, you're still really just parents and you don't really know much. So that's their thought process. Their thought process is they would rather learn from their peers. Well, my response to that is you're going to learn by consequence because your peers don't know any more than you know. You might find one or two people that have studied a different course that might have some information. They may have studied a different concentration. They may be able to share something with you. But overall, you all bring the same thing to the table. You bring the same amount of lifetime experience to the table. Somebody may have gone through something different than they have gone through, but at the end of the day, a 30-year-old is a 30-year-old. And even though you may have some life experience that differs, at the end of the day, they don't have the same information that we have because they haven't experienced what we've experienced. Our job is to share the information with them. What they choose to do with the information is going to be their outcome. Having said that, we have to keep saying it. And we have to keep living it so that they understand that we're only being an example to them. Just as Christ was for all of us, our example. We're the example to our children and our families. So let's talk about families. Family members who live outside of your household, we want them also to have a better quality of life, and extended family. But we want them to have a better quality of life also. Not just to have life, but to have it more abundantly. So we want them to have a better quality of life. We share information with them. You may even reveal some things to them that would enhance the quality of their lives. What they choose to do with that information is entirely up to them also. So don't allow yourself to become frustrated by what people are not doing. Your loved ones, the same thing. The people that are outside of your immediate household, outside of your immediate family, your DNA family, and then your loved ones that are let me rephrase that, your extended family, people that have been part of your life all your entire life, and then your loved ones, the people that you attract along the way. We can share information with them. We cannot force them to use it. So there's a Bible passage that tells us that when you have given the information, when you have given people everything that they could possibly need to enhance the quality of their lives or go to the next level, the Bible tells us if they choose to ignore it, and I'm paraphrasing to give you the analogy, if they choose to ignore it, stomp the dust off your feet and keep it moving. Don't allow it to become something that will suck the life out of you or drain you of your energy or even become a health issue for you because you're so diligently trying to help others improve the quality of their life. That's a choice. It's a choice whether we are going to enhance the quality of our daily lives, become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become, experience the fullness of God. Are we going to have life, and are we going to have it more abundantly? See, we can teach people to have a better life. But Jesus said, I came that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. So that implies a better quality of life. That our body, mind, and spirit is in tune with everything that is going to allow us to flourish and thrive. And when you flourish and thrive, you become the best version of yourself that you can become. It's another level when you begin to experience the fullness of God. And that's about relationship with the Lord. So, that's a whole another component of this. But you've been really feeling vexed in your spirit because you've been guiding them and they've been ignoring the guide that you've given them, the roadmap that you're giving them. They've been ignoring it. You say go left, they go right. You say go right, they go left. The problem is you can't allow that to become something that causes anxiety and a vexation spirit, that you're walking around vexed all the time. I used this analogy long ago, and I'll share this. I shared something long ago, and I said, I was talking to one of my brother pastors, and we were communicating by text, and one of the things that we talked about is the hardest thing about being a pastor is, and someone had to clear this up for me and say it's because your heart was right. Your heart is right. Your heart is right. One of the most difficult things about being a pastor is that you want for people not just what you want for yourself, but you want for people more than they want for themselves. Love is when you want for someone else what you want for yourself. You want them to have the same experience, first of all, with the Lord. You want them to have everything that you have in life, you want them to have also, and more. That's true love. But as a pastor, being a shepherd of people, when you want for others more than they want for themselves, that's a struggle for me as a pastor. And the reason it's a struggle is because you see the potential and you really try to pour into people the energy, the encouragement, the energy, the inspiration that they need to maximize their potential so that they can then maximize opportunities. And every step of the way they're kicking against the pricks. But I had to go back and refer to the scripture where it says you will have sheep and you will have goats. You'll have sheep who will follow what you instruct them. It's not that they don't know your voice, but you also have goats. People who will resist every step of the way what you share with them, what God has revealed to you for their lives. They won't want to make the changes because people don't always like change. And that's what's happening in your, God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life, that your family is resisting the change because they're comfortable doing just what they've always done, even though they're not really enjoying a great quality of life. They're comfortable. You're trying to help them learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, growing. But once you have given them all that they need to move forward, the Bible tells us, stomp the dust off your feet and keep it moving. Just keep going. Someone will listen. Someone will be impacted by the instruction you give and by the example you give, and they will seek a better quality of life. Just keep going. Don't stop. Rest if you must. Just don't quit. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you over into our queue so that you can become a T-Mobile customer and experience T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees will be included in your bill. And if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your children are having a difficult time being stable in their careers. And although you constantly encourage them, they still find it difficult to make progress. So let me begin by saying this. I'm going to share with you something that a very dear friend who lives in another city, in another region, reminded me in a conversation we had one day. And that is that sometimes we give our children too much. And I'm not suggesting that you can encourage them too much. We can never encourage our children too much. We should encourage them daily. But we can't encourage them to stay in the circumstances that they're in. And what's happened is that in your life is that you have been very encouraging. You've been very committed to the lives of your children. And that's a good thing. For all of us who are parents who are engaged in the lives of our children, we're not trying to live their lives, but we're active parents. We should always want to encourage our children to the next level. Every one of us is living every day climbing the stairway to heaven. We're on our way there, but we're climbing the stairway every day, and part of that stairway is the success of our careers, a better quality of life, all of the things that we've talked about here in 3D many, many times. Here's the reality. Your children have come to a place in their lives where they believe that the rest of the world is going to treat them the same way that you treat them. They expect that from the rest of the world. My wife and I have had this conversation about with our children on more than one occasion. And when I say more than one occasion, enough that they're probably tired of hearing it from us. No one's ever going to love you as much as we do inside our home. There will be other people who love you. But there will probably not be anyone else who will die for you. Literally give up their life for you. So you need to understand there's a difference between what happens inside the household and what happens outside the household. So what your children are experiencing is that they think that they can say whatever's on their mind at any given time. And that's not just yes, that is the society in which we live, but that's not just the society in which we live. That's what they've been allowed to do within their own household. So they think it's perfectly acceptable to do it outside of the household. And as adults, now in their late 30s, early 40s, they're still doing it. They're still saying whatever comes to mind. And then society has confirmed that, because in today's society, people say whatever they want to say. And, I have said this in a Sunday sermon, and I will repeat this, I'm sure, again at some point during my lifetime. Sometimes it's better to be silent and thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Sometimes we just cannot say what we want to say. We have to recognize that just because we think it doesn't mean that it should be said. And I've said this in the broadcast before. There's a litmus test for that. The Bible tells us not to offend in word. There's a litmus test for that, and that is that if you are going to say something, so we should think about what we say before we say it. Think before we speak, right? So the litmus test to that is always, I'm going to make a comment. It is going to be heard by God before it's ever heard by the person I'm speaking to. And the reason for that is because God knows my thoughts, God knows my heart, God knows my thoughts, and God, when we speak, we think that the speed of sound will travel to the ear of the hearer before it passes God, like he's not going to hear it. But the truth is, it needs to be acceptable to him first. If we're going to say it, we need to say it within ourselves. Is it acceptable to God? And because your children, unfortunately, no longer have the relationship with the Lord that they had when they were growing up in your household at a young age because you took them to church, but the problem is now they have no relationship with the Lord, so they feel that they can live by what's acceptable to society as opposed to what's acceptable to God. So one of the things that I will suggest to you and all of our listeners and viewers who may be missing this, let's get back to encouraging our children to have a relationship with the Lord. I think sometimes we get worn out, tired of saying things, and so we stop saying them. Encourage them to have a relationship with the Lord. Doesn't mean you can make them go to church. Doesn't mean you can make them tune in. But encourage them to develop a relationship with the Lord. And one of the ways that we can encourage them to develop a relationship with the Lord is how they see or perceive our relationship with the Lord to be. You can't encourage them to attend church on Sundays if you don't attend church on Sundays. If you're going to Bedside Baptist, you can't, it's going to be very difficult to encourage your children, even as adults, even in their late 30s and 40s, to attend church, late 30s, early 40s, to attend church if they call you on Sunday morning and you're still in bed. We have to encourage also by example. So if you're going to church on Sundays and they see you going to church every Sunday, that's an example. That's encouraging them to attend on Sundays. Now we're going to be having New Year's Eve service from 6:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. at New Life Christian Center in Wilmington, Delaware, 400 Hillcrest Avenue on the corner of Hillcrest and Marsh Road. Parking on Hillcrest, where the Brown Brick Building located right on the corner of Hillcrest and Marsh Road in Wilmington, Delaware. Enough said. You're invited to come if you're in our area. We will be having New Year's Eve service from 6:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. And that's a perfect time for you to invite your children to attend church with you. And if they don't live in your city, ask them to tune into your church's service on New Year's Eve. Now, I'm not one who wants our congregation or visitors to be out on the road when amateur night begins in the city, so that's why we don't have watch night service as they did when we were growing up, where you waited until midnight, you stayed in church until midnight so that you could see the new year come in. I want everyone to be at home with their families, off the streets and safe. So, we're done by 8 p.m. That's a good opportunity for you to encourage your children to be in service or attend service or view service, even if they're going to go out afterwards with their friends. Because a lot of people go out on New Year's Eve. I personally will be at home on New Year's Eve. But I say all of that to say, we've got to get back to encouraging them in their relationship with the Lord, because that's going to have a direct correlation to their success academically for those of you that have college students or students in school, and in your case, late 30s, early 40s, you have children who are grown adults who are struggling in their careers because of their lack of relationship with the Lord, and because they feel it's okay to just say whatever comes to their mind. And that's why they're finding it difficult to be stable in their career. Now, that doesn't apply to everyone. There's other challenges for other people with careers. I get that. This is one particular case right now, and anything else that I said you can apply to that, then work it. But God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life. That's why they're finding it difficult to be stable in their careers. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, check their store hours. They have everything a man could need. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. And right now, if you order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com, if you order shirts, you will receive 4 high-quality cotton shirts from Charles Tyrwhitt for $199. And they also have right now a sale for high-quality cashmere sweaters, 2 for $179.50. You can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store, check for the store hours. They have everything that you could possibly need. They have home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. If you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. So I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, we are in the holiday season. We had our monthly contributor, Rebecca Boover, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, with us the first Thursday of this month, and of course she'll be with us the first Thursday of next month. Becca the dietitian. If you want to really have healthy holidays, view her website at Becca the dietitian and look at methods that you can have a healthy holiday season. Now, we'll be posting on our website the recipe that she sent. We'll also be posting 10 tips for healthy holidays. So make certain that you go on our Facebook, view her website at Becca the Dietitian. We want everyone to have not only safe We want everyone to have healthy holidays. I was going to start another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers, but it would take me right through the remainder of the broadcast and we will run out of time, and I don't want anyone